Welcome back to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be making my prediction for the 2024 election after RFK has dropped out of his 2024 bid for the presidency and has endorsed former President Donald Trump and JD Vance for the presidency. So taking a look at our electoral map, the fact that RFK, a key player really in this electoral map up to this point, and really an individual who was taking more votes away from former President Trump than Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Now, some people denied that during the campaign. Some people were saying that RFK would be a net negative towards uh, towards Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. That being said, it has now been clear that RFK was taking more votes away from Trump, and RFK obviously did not want to do that. He obviously knew that his campaign was kind of going down. It was trouncing really quite a lot, and he has endorsed the former president. This makes a huge shift, really. Regardless of what you think of RFK, you have to understand that he was still a very prominent third party candidate relative to other third party candidates. And with that being said, with RFK out of the race, we can now say that this election really has really no obvious third party front runner. Really, no obvious third party front runner. We're like back to maybe 2020 levels of third party candidates. Back in 2020, third party candidates didn't really make up a large percentage of the vote and didn't really get much news coverage. But now that RFK has dropped out of the race, we are obviously seeing that we're really back at 2020 levels in terms of the relevancy of third party candidates. Obviously, this does help the Donald Trump / JD Vance ticket. RFK was obviously taking more votes away from Donald Trump than Kamala Harris. It was pretty clear. He himself said that he was taking about 57% of Trump supporters compared to Kamala Harris supporters, and that obviously was one of the reasons probably for why he dropped out. Now, if he was taking more votes away from Kamala Harris, I don't necessarily think he would have dropped out. That's what I'm going to say as far as that is concerned. But this does obviously help Trump. I do believe that this will help Trump. I think that RFK really had a lot of Rust Belt appeal. And regardless, even if you think he was only going to take maybe 2 or 3% of the vote, it is still something to consider, right? RFK, regardless of what you say, was much more relevant than other third party candidates. A lot of Americans, compared to most elections, knew who RFK was. At least he had some name relevancy compared to other third party candidates, and it really does go to show how much of an influence he had. Now, obviously, RFK's family has obviously endorsed Joe Biden, and I think that transfers over to Kamala Harris. They haven't, I don't think they've spoken out necessarily and done a campaign rally with Kamala Harris. That being said, they did endorse the Biden ticket, which I think technically does transfer over to Kamala Harris, but it does obviously show that he is currently at odds with the Kennedy family. And I think just the fact that RFK is a Kennedy is an extremely important fact that you really have to consider. The fact that he is really in that Kennedy, that traditional Bill Clinton-esque style of the Democratic Party, really going ahead and endorsing the former president. Now, there obviously is a downside to this in one respect. RFK is often seen as a conspiracy theorist and obviously an anti-vaxxer in some respects. And I do think that might possibly bode a little bit negative towards Donald Trump. And I really think that was crucial, really, for as far as that is concerned. And as far as the debate that recently happened, so the debate that recently happened with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I think that's actually good for Donald Trump that RFK did not appear on that debate stage, because I think that if RFK appeared on that debate stage, it would have actually boosted RFK's campaign, and it would have made it less likely for him to drop out of the race. So a lot of really things that you really have to consider here as far as this is concerned. All right. So that is my prediction as far as the safe, lean, unlikely states. Let's go ahead at this time and take a look at some of the Rust Belt states, that we really want to be taking a look at. So starting off here with the state of Wisconsin. In the state of Wisconsin, we currently see that Donald Trump is behind of Kamala Harris by 1%. The recent Rasmussen poll currently has Kamala Harris Kamala Harris up 1%. And now Rasmussen obviously is a Republican-leaning poll. That being said, if you take a look at Wisconsin polling, generally speaking, it is not that accurate. It generally speaking over-favors Democrats. If you go back to the 2020 election, in the RCP aggregate, you can see that by election day, the RCP aggregate had Biden ahead by 6.7%, yet by election day, Biden was only ahead by 0.7%. it overestimated Biden by approximately 6 percentage points. If you look at the state of Nevada, and let me run through this polling. Obviously, I don't think we have any polling data after RFK dropped out, since he just dropped out about, I think, an hour and a half ago. Donald Trump is currently ahead by 1.4%. If you go back to around the 2020 map of this particular election, it was actually exactly correct. So if you go back to the 2020 map, let me just open this up really quick. The Nevada polling data was really accurate in the RCP aggregate. It was right on. It had Biden ahead by 2.4%. In the actual election, Biden was ahead by 2.4%. Therefore, if you apply that to this election, Donald Trump would win the state of Nevada by the same margin as presented right over here. In the state of Michigan, this is a crucial state with a heavy Arab Muslim population. I do think that the Arab Muslim population is a bit overestimated. It's only around 2%, I believe, in terms of the Muslim voters in that particular state. And obviously, you have the issue of Gaza, which might be dividing some Arab Muslims away from the Democratic Party. But some Arab Muslims are obviously going to vote for Donald Trump, and some might think that Donald Trump is obviously more pro-Israel than Kamala Harris, which I would argue is true. Donald Trump is, generally speaking, more pro-Israel than Kamala Harris. So you could see obviously that occurring. Kamala Harris is currently ahead by 2%. She is obviously having Tim Walz as her vice president, who is much more pro-Palestine, I would say, than Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has said some more pro-Palestine stuff than Joe Biden, undeniably. That being said, I think Tim Walz is actually even more towards the pro-Palestine, pro-Gaza side. So Kamala Harris is currently ahead by 2%. If you go back to around 2020 levels in this election, you had Joe Biden ahead by 4.2% by the time the election occurred. He ended up winning by 2.8%. At this time in the 2020 election, you can see that if you go back to around August, let's go back to August 23rd. August 23rd, Biden was ahead by 7%. He only ended up winning again by 2.4%, 2.8%. So that obviously does show the polling data overestimating Joe Biden there. Moving on from the state of Michigan, let's take a look at the state of North Carolina. North Carolina, Trump's currently ahead by 0.9%, 0.9%, and that is for the state of North Carolina. Recent polling does have Donald Trump currently behind by 1%. Extremely important, Kamala Harris leading by 1% there, according to that aggregate. Let's take a look and fill out the state of Nevada, the state of Arizona, the state of Georgia, the state of North Carolina, as well as the state of Pennsylvania, and the state of Michigan. So I'm going to be having this trifecta, the trifecta here as far as Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are concerned. Extremely crucial to either side. If you take a look at this really quick, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, those three states are enough to give Kamala Harris 269. All she has to do at that point is win Nebraska's second congressional district, or she would obviously have to go through Congress if Donald Trump were to win that congressional district. But the Rust Belt is really key to either party's victory. Donald Trump just has to win one of those Rust Belt states if he keeps the entire Sun Belt and North Carolina. Moving on from North Carolina, let's take a look at 2020 level polling data in the state of North Carolina. Take a look at the state of North Carolina. You can currently see that by election day, Donald Trump was ahead by 0.2%. He ended up winning by 1.3%. The polling data underestimated him by 1.1%. If you take a look at it right now, Donald Trump's ahead by 0.9%. You add in a 1.1%, that would be a 3% victory. So that is for the state of North Carolina. So that would put it in the lean margin, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in the tilt margin for now, just to be on the safe side. And then in the state of Wisconsin, this is a key state. I think that the polling data is currently underestimating the former president. If you go back to 2020 margins in the state of Wisconsin, we can currently see that Donald Trump was in that election underestimated by 6 percentage points. If you apply that margin to this current election, you can see that Donald Trump would end up leading by 5 percentage points. I do think that it's going to be closer than 5%, but I'm going to go and put that state in the tilt column. You take a look at the state of Michigan here. The state of Michigan really quick. We already went over these obviously. But Kamala Harris is ahead by 2%. If you go back to around 2020 margins in the state of Michigan, you can see that Joe Biden on election day was ahead by 4.2%. He only ended up winning by 2.8%, meaning that the polling data overestimated him by 1.4%. Apply that same polling data here. Kamala Harris wins the state by 0.4%, 0.6%. Sorry, 0.6%. So that would be a 0.6% victory. Obviously, the polling data here, the Rasmussen Reports poll, was taken prior to RFK dropping. It was taken from August 13th to August 17th. As of the time we're making this video, it is August 23rd. So 6 days after this poll was taken is when this video is being recorded. So this was quite a while ago, actually. 6 days ago is quite a while ago. Although even Rasmussen has Kamala Harris leading, I'm going to go ahead and give this state to Kamala Harris. And then in the state of Pennsylvania, if you take a look at the state of Pennsylvania, even when you go back to the 2020 election in the state of Pennsylvania, the polling data was actually spot on. Joe Biden was leading by 1.2% in the polling data. He ended up winning by 1.2%. You take a look at the state of Pennsylvania, according to the 2024 aggregate, Donald Trump's ahead by 0.2%. The Rasmussen reports well, Donald Trump ahead by 1%. Insider Advantage ahead by Donald Trump's ahead by 1%. 0.2%, add in 0%, you get 0.2%. So that would be in the tilt category. All right. So that would be the 2024 prediction as of right now. I'm leaving one electoral vote as being tossed up, and that is Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. But this is really our map here. After RFK has dropped out of the race, a really key instrumental thing in this race, the fact that RFK, he was fighting for ballot access. He had, regardless of what you think about him, he had some support around him. And it really is a question of how much will RFK endorse him? Will this be a big effort among him to endorse him? Will he just do one campaign rally? He already did one campaign rally, in a sense. Now, just for about 5 minutes or so, he talked. I believe I watched it. I watched portions of him endorsing, and I think that was about a 3 to 4 minute address at the Trump rally. So, I mean, it was an endorsement nevertheless. The question is, how many rallies is he going to do? Things like that. So this is my prediction as of right now after RFK has dropped out. Donald Trump at 297 electoral votes. Kamala Harris at 240 electoral votes. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe button down below and like the video. And I'll see you in the next video.